Welcome to Cancer Chat with Michelle from Big Valley Living and Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook. Today, two survivors will be talking about their journey with cancer. Let's go to the chat.
Hi, my name is Michelle, and I am a stage 4 cancer survivor, colon cancer, as a matter of fact. And I found out that a fellow YouTuber, Tom Garvey, also has his own cancer story. So we decided that we would get together and talk about it and open up the conversation to everybody. You're not alone in this. Tom?
Hello, everybody. How you doing? I'm Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook. It's funny how this happened because I had bladder cancer, and I know Michelle for a couple years now. We've been on different shows together, different 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 lives and stuff like that. Great people, but you don't know. All right, and once in a while something would come up, and I'm saying, something's not right, or nobody says really anything about it. So I was on one of my lives, and Michelle, I was talking about bladder cancer. She said, "You had cancer? You had bladder cancer?" Yep, sure did. So we decided to collab on this right here to bring our stories to everybody. It's a tough way to do your life and try to keep your dignity, and also with your friends. You don't want to let people know that you went through this rough time in the beginning, but now that we went through it, we are going to tell our stories because you know what? It deserves to be told to everyone. Everybody needs to hear this. Michelle?
Well, I agree with you. I'm going to go back a little bit. I started my YouTube channel when very few people knew that I had cancer. Basically my family and then some coworkers because they had to know. And I decided that I wanted to record family recipes for preservation. Okay, because
Mm-hmm.
we're the sandwich generation. Our parents were older, and so we had their recipes that we wanted to hand down, and then we have children who are coming into their own adulthood, and we wanted to make sure that all these recipes were in a format that they could be followed, especially that the younger generation could follow. So that's why we started our channel. And, we kind of grew. It starts out where your family and friends support you because they feel bad for you and all that. And then it started growing a little more. We got more involved in the YouTube community. And then about a year and a couple months ago, I decided, you know what? I need to bring my cancer story out because that is really why I started doing this. And in doing so, it opened up a dialogue that I never expected. I Our channel took off, and we have resonated so much with so many people who thought that they were alone and they didn't have anybody to talk to about it, or that no one else had experienced the things that they were experiencing. I also wanted to bring awareness about my particular cancer was colon cancer, and I wanted to bring about awareness so that everybody would know the kinds of signs they might see, and possibly they could, get in there and get checked and stop it early.
Right. I sort of agree about getting it out there, but in the beginning it was embarrassing, almost embarrassing. To what especially with what I had and at the age I got it at. Okay, I mean I remember to this day. Okay, November 7th, 2007. It was a Wednesday, and I went in and they wanted me to do an ultrasound. Okay, I don't know what you're talking about. I have no clue what you're talking about. Go do what you got to do. By the way, I was 53 years old. That was the time of my life we came from. I sold everything in New Jersey and I was going to semi-retire in North Carolina, and we were going to. This guy from New Jersey was going to become a farmer. Figured that one out. So when we lived in North Carolina, well, I guess the first 2 years I didn't talk to anybody and nobody talked to me because we didn't understand each other. Yeah, two different kinds of lingos. But I had some issues, and I started passing blood. And, they said, well, man your age, now you got to go get checked. Well, I did get checked, and it came back that the doctor said to me, Mr. Garvey, you have bladder cancer. We've seen, on the ultrasound, we've seen a couple tumors. Now, sometimes that's hard to pick up on an ultrasound. So I had no clue. I never heard of bladder cancer before in my life, ever. All right. And trying to get this thing to come to the front, just to get a handle on it, what was going to go on. Right away, you think you're dying. Okay. I'll see you later. You start hugging people and stuff like that. And look, what's wrong with you? Well, anyway, I had my first surgery on December 17th, 2008. My grandson was born December 16th, the day before, 2008. That hit home. That hit me like a ton of bricks. Okay, and I'm holding this little guy. The other little guy is 6 years old, and I got a picture. Next time we come up, I'm gonna put it up. But he was my rock. He was the guy that said, "Can't give up, Pop. Can't do it." So, long story short, I had from that point, I've had 8 surgeries and 18 tumors taken out. Not fun. And the last surgery that I had was back in August of 2012, and I was cleared. This is play on words here. Cleared. I wasn't cleared. They said they didn't find any more tumors, so right away, congratulations, you're cancer free. I took that a little hard because you know what? Nah, I don't think so. I'm gonna make sure what's going on. So, to today, I am the keto cook. Now, a lot of people want to know why are you the keto cook? Well, I'm a retired chef, and I was 320 pounds. And from that point, I lost, to date, right now, I lost 72 pounds. And the further I stayed with this keto lifestyle, and I went off the track a couple times here and there, but throughout my whole cancer issues, I got to do something to change things, and I was clueless. I had no idea. So the bottom line was that all of a sudden I'm getting dribs and drabs that this lifestyle, no sugar, no carbs, okay, will help not only type 2 diabetes. We're going to get into that in a few ones down. How I became a type 2 diabetic. Okay, this is like, you can't make this stuff up. So anyway, long story again. I became the keto cook, and this is the background. And Michelle was the one who actually said, "Hey, we need to talk about this." All right, and yeah, we do. We definitely have to, because you know what? There's ways that you can make yourself make life easier. Let's put it that way. Through food and stuff. So it has been quite the ride. Just stuff that I never heard of before. Michelle, and I'm sure you had the same thing where you're told terminologies and stuff like that you never heard before.
You just nod your head. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What are you talking about? So and you and like in my case, you got to do what, where, but at one point I was a sick pup. I really was. I belong to I don't participate in it much anymore, but I'm still part of it, of a cancer, bladder cancer. I guess coalition. I guess the whole thing is, and what's scary to me, Michelle. I don't know. We need to talk about this a little bit. We're trying to introduce ourselves and everything, and I feel like I'm going off the rails. So if I go too far, pull me back, okay?
You're doing good. I like it.
How many ribbons are there for cancers?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
There's a color for everything. There's a color. I mean, there's too many.
I can't keep track of them.
Too many. It's too many. Way too many. So we do have a problem that we need to discuss, and maybe this might help people get through their dilemma and what happened through us. I believe that can happen. So I don't want to windbag too much. I want you to take the floor, ma'am.
Thanks. No, I could sit and listen to your story because we've talked. I mean, before we decided to do this, we've had some conversations that could curl your hair or straighten it, as the case may be, because each cancer has its own treatment and everything. And I'll do a quick overview of my cancer. So I your 53 resonated with me because I had had some signs when I was about 49, and I ignored them. At the time, I smoked. I was what my terminology is I was a closet smoker. I didn't smoke in the morning. I didn't smoke. I didn't take cigarettes with me to work. No one at work had a clue. But I'd come home and go outside on the patio and huff down, 3 to 5 cigarettes. And so my doctor knew I smoked. I'm not going to lie to him about it. And I didn't want to go in with the changes because I knew I'd get the lecture again. And I just wasn't ready to give it up. Well, my symptoms got to a point where I couldn't ignore it, and it just so happened that I was getting my 50-year checkup, with the doctor, and so he sent out a questionnaire before the appointment, and they'd talk about heart palpitations and eyesight problems and whatnot, and one of them is changes in your bowel habits or your bladder habits. And so in the bowel habit section, I marked, yeah, this has changed a little bit, or yes, I experienced that. And then when I went to my appointment, and that was in my appointment with him was in September of 2017,
Hmm.
right before my oldest niece was getting married, and I'm very close with my brother and his family. Even in proximity, we live right by each other. So I was focused on, the wedding and what we were going to be taking part, and I really just didn't want to deal with that. But I did talk to my doctor about it, and after talking about a few of my signs, he said, "Okay, I want to get you. I want to get you in for a colonoscopy. You're 50 years old anyway. You have a little bit of cancer in your family, so let's go ahead and just eliminate the possibility." Okay.
Hmm.
So I went in at let's see. I have to think about when she got married. I went in at like the third week of October. I don't know the exact dates.
Hmm.
I have successfully blocked some dates and marked some of them forever. But I went in near the end of October for the colonoscopy, and the instructions that day were, after you do your whole clean out that I was all freaked out about, don't be afraid of it. Good
Yep.
Lord.
Yep.
But anyway, um, the instructions were you're going to have somebody drop you off and you're going to have somebody pick you up. And so, what's that person's telephone number? It was my husband. We'll call them when the procedure's over, and they put you in a twilight sleep where you're asleep, but you're not completely, right? So you
Hmm.
wake up and you're fine. Well, after my colon, I woke up partway through it. They were about at the end, and it kind of looked like the doctor was playing a video game. I just happened to be facing the screen. And so I saw him doing something in there. I wasn't quite sure what, and he was a little startled when I said, "What are you doing?" Just stay still, Michelle. Just stay still. And then he explained what he was doing. So, you know, a few minutes later, they were done, and I went into to the room to get my clothes on, and I figured, okay, they're going to call my husband. I'm going to go down, and we'll hear from the doctor later. Well, that isn't the way it happened. They called my husband and said, "We need you to park your truck or your car. We need you to park and we need you to come up." And then he came into me and he said, "I'm having your husband come up here so that we can talk for a few minutes." Well, I got a little nervous about that. And so, the gastroenterologist can't, just tell you, "I saw this," okay, and make a diagnosis. They have to send samples to the lab. But somebody who's been doing it for, 25 plus years, they know. They know what
Hmm.
they see, or they have a good suspicion. And that's what he said. He said, I don't like the way some of these polyps looked. I was taking polyps out, and he said, I don't like the way they looked, and they had characteristics of colon cancer. And I mean, like, I'm sure all the blood drained out of my face at that point, because, like, oh my god, what? Me? I'm only 49 years old. I
Can't happen to me.
No, that's not happening. And so and my husband, right? He's like, he's not expecting that. So he said, we're sending this to the lab. We're putting an urgency to it, and you'll be hearing from me sooner rather than later. And if it is cancer, we want to act aggressively, okay? Because it looks like it's fairly early if it is. So on November 16th, 2017, I smoked my last cigarette. That was the last nicotine that ever went into this body. No patches, no nothing. I didn't need anything beyond that. But on November 17th, I went in for surgery. And when they were putting me under, the doctor said, I don't want you to be surprised when you wake up. I'm not sure what we're going to see. We're going to be removing part of your colon. And depending on how far advanced, or how much area is
Hmm.
affected, you may wake up with a bag, you may not. So
Whew.
that's what I hear as I'm going under. And when I woke up, I didn't have a bag. So that made me really happy. So that's where I'm going to stop. And I don't know, what. I'm gonna let you talk now, Tom.
Okay. Well, I'm almost a similar way. Now, bladder cancer is odd because I've heard of a couple people that had bladder cancer, but my dad and mom both died of cancer. Okay, so it did run in my family. I mean, but see there again. We're going to get into this a little later on down the road because I have my ways about me and certain things that how I think it should be. Anyway, with me. But um, I was passing blood a little bit, just a little bit. Okay. Now, what started this was we moved. I wanted to get out of New Jersey. I wanted to semi-retire. Okay. Uh, in the beginning of my uh, younger years, I drove a tractor trailer. Okay. And I hauled gasoline in the beginning. I hauled gasoline and diesel fuel, locally, tri-state area. And then I put the big boy pants on and I went over the road. And I was probably 2.5 years. I ran the road. It was in all lower 48. All right. At one point, I didn't come home for a while because I just was out working. I mean, just it was there to do it. I wanted to do it. I had that kind of gumption with it. And then enough's enough because things started changing. Whatever. I went through a divorce, and I started cooking again. I went back into the kitchen. Now I started. I'm a retired chef, and I started cooking when I had a hot dog wagon when I was 12. Okay, so
Whoa.
I was always cooking, always had something going on. Went from a dishwasher up to a line cook in one of the country clubs. So uh, I said, you know what, I'm going to get back into it again. Now my family, my older brother had a rock and roll club that he sold a couple times. We got it back. I also played the drums and stuff, so I brought different musicians in and stuff, people that I knew. So life was good. Everything was going around pretty good. But now I'd say back into my maybe 30s. All right. Dabbling here and there with different businesses and stuff like that, but I was cooking. Started smoking like a chimney. Okay. Where's the food delivery? Spark went up to the point where just before I quit in North Carolina, when I moved to North Carolina, I was smoking 5 packs of cigarettes a day. All right. Now, we moved from New Jersey, had the house up for sale for a couple years. In that meantime, I had married Marie. Marie was the waitress in the restaurant. Okay, she was like, remember the show? What was it, Carla? That was on it. She was the waitress. I can't remember the name of the show with. It was in a bar. Cheers.
Oh, yeah, 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 Carla. Okay, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Marie was like Carla. You know, what do you want? You know, that type of thing. So we always had a good time. We always laughed and stuff like that. So we put the house up for sale. I bought 17 acres of property in North Carolina, an old farmhouse on it, and we had plans. My wife is a green thumb. She can grow just about anything. I gave her $1, but one time she couldn't grow anymore. But the whole fact of the matter is I sold the house, bought the property, and we moved on a Labor Day weekend. I believe it was early 2007. I think it was. This is just before the banking industry went belly up. Okay, so when you talk about stress, how stress grow cancer, that was the big thing back then. So I sold the house, and what happened was the people who bought the house, their bank went belly up. I lost a couple $100,000, whatever. I don't want to get into that too much, but the stress level I was out of my mind. Okay, now what do I do? How do I go about finishing what I'm doing? So my daughter lived there, so we sort of got things squared away, and that's when I said, that's it, I quit smoking. So that was 16 years ago, okay, that I quit smoking. And I got to say, every once in a while, I still look for them here and there. So now this is all coming together. So now I started urinating in blood towards the end. I go to the doctor with concerns. I had a little stomach pain, lower stomach pain. And he said to me, do you smoke? I said, quit. 6 months ago, 4 months ago, whatever it was. Okay. All right, so you still smoke? I said, oh, no, I don't. I just said I quit. He says, that many cigarettes that you were smoking, I consider you still smoking until you get a year under your belt. Okay. He said, have you been around any harsh chemicals?
Oh,
man. I said, yeah. I said, I used to haul gasoline. I said, I was an over-road driver when I was younger, and this and that. He said, okay. The guy was sharp. You know what I mean? When I mean sharp, he was sarcastic. But I liked it because me and him would banter back and forth with one another about it. But I like a straight shooter. I don't want lollygagging around here. If there's something wrong, let's get to it. Let's fix it. So then he's going back and forth. He says, you ran any kind of gas or like anything like that? Well, yeah. I know I cooked for all them years. I'm in a hood in a restaurant, and all the we had 3 or 4 stoves. There's probably 16 burners that were going at all time with natural gas burning. You get an air fence in front of you, and then you got so I was in the smoke all the time. He says, that's why you have bladder cancer. Diesel fuel, gasoline, okay, cigarette smokes, and them other chemicals. Jesus, wow. All right. So we went through our paces with it. It got to the point where every time I went to the doctor, because I would go and have the surgery done and go back 90 days to 180 days, go back and get checked again, and I could see him go like that. And how they examine you was they went in through the penis with the hose, the cystoscope, up into your bladder. So the hard part was like getting past where the prostate is, okay, and then getting in there and then looking around. And it was horrible. I don't wish this on anybody. But at one point, I think after my 3rd surgery or 4th surgery, he said, we're going to start a treatment for you. We're going to put you on this treatment, okay? Whatever we got to do, let's do it. Right? Now, when they started the treatment, and we'll talk about that later on down the road, but it started to subside a little bit. I wasn't in a lot of pain anymore or had any kind of problems. But around the 5th or 6th surgery, or just getting closer to the end of my surgeries, he told me to get my affairs in order. These are coming back fast and furious. We can't, I don't know what else to do. You started this treatment. Anyway, that opened up my eyes big time. What's going to happen? Not only to me, but what's going to happen to my family? What's going to happen to them little boys? What's going to happen to my wife? So I went hell bent to look at it, work at it. What can I do to help myself and stuff like that? So I'm an advocate of no sugar. I'm an advocate of no high carbs. I'm an advocate of clean food and eating, because you know what? Sugar and high carbs will do this to you. They'll actually, there's studies going on right now that saying that once you cut out the sugar, your cancer chances are minimal, back and forth. So that's, like I said, we'll get to that further on down the road. But at that age, it rocked my world. It really set me back to the point where, and I'm from New Jersey, and we're living in central North Carolina, out in the middle of nowhere. Okay, I mean, like, what the hell am I doing? All right, but hindsight, that was the best place for me to be there, because everything we did, we grew naturally, and it just took us into another realm and another world. Marie said, "I believe that's what saved your life. That living that way, living not off the land, but we grew a lot of the stuff." And plus, I went through every dime I had. Every dime I had. So, going from the high life, things are good, semi-retire early, to what in the hell are we going to do next? So, it's been an ugly ride. And anybody who is out there who's going through a problem right now, take your time with it. Do your research. Make sure you take care of yourself. Make sure you take care of number one with your problem. Don't push it off. Do not push it off, because it's not right. It's just you need to take yourself a little bit more seriously. With today's technologies and stuff, you can get through a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? What's your thought on that, Michelle?
I agree. I agree with getting checked early. I'm going to start with that because just segues. If I would have gone into the doctor with my concerns at the very beginning of having any issues, I probably would have caught it very early. As it was, it had just barely started to poke through the one of the inner linings of my colon, and they ended up removing about 10 inches of my colon. So that radically changes your life, everybody. Not a joke. And so, at the very first sign of, changing in shape, stomach aches, I had just a super low grade nausea. So I would I'm taking Mylanta and Pepto-Bismol like nobody's business. Every day I'm waking up and I'm taking Pepto, and eating crackers, saltines, because they would, I thought it was just stomach acid and everything. But if I would have gone in, then the shape started changing, and I would have, bouts of diarrhea. So had I gone to the doctor at that point, I think that it would have had a different outcome at the end of the day. But, here we are. And so I waited. It was close to a year, actually, from the very first indication to having surgery. I'd say 11 months, maybe 10 and a half months. So I think it's important, yes, to, at the very first sign of something not being right, go to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
If you suspect that your diet is not helping you, change your diet up a little bit. I do subscribe to the same thing. Sugar feeds cancer, and carbs turn into sugar. So, that's a double whammy, right? So yeah, I'm a huge advocate for that. Cancer is hitting us all younger, and I believe it's our food supply. I'm going to go there, you know.
I've seen a study. I've seen a study not too long ago of kids. They're 13, 14, 15 years old with fatty liver.
Yep.
Okay. Now, try to bring this full circle. how it happened with me was I'm in a restaurant and I had to taste everything, okay, and then eating the French fries or just whatever, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Uh, not 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 only a poor diet working in a restaurant, okay, but stress.
Hmm.
You don't know it at the time. You don't know you're under stress. Things are going on. What I got to do? I got to do this. I got to do that. And then all of a sudden discover that you're passing blood. Okay. So, I mean, boom, the light bulb goes off. But what happens is either you're afraid to go find out what the outcome is. Okay.
Hmm.
You can't forget about it because you know it's there. It's like, like when we were a kid, the more blankets I had on me, that guy underneath my bed, that monster, he couldn't get me with all them blankets on there. So if I ignored it, guess what? He wouldn't bother me. Okay. And that's exactly what happened with me. I ignored it to the point where, plus I had other things going on. But which is more important? Okay. If I'm not here, what happens?
Hmm.
So getting checked early and getting to understand exactly what you're talking about. Ask questions. Don't
Hmm.
stop. I mean, God Almighty. I mean, I would leave there and scratch my head. And what are they talking about?
Hmm.
You know, and I would go online and try to understand what they were, and either doom and gloom or whatever. But then you know what hit me was, this is my body. I'm going to make sure I know what's going on with it. So uh, I took the bull by the horn and said, all right, what do we have to do? And the doctor I had to finally I made it to a urologist. All right, after bouncing around with my insurance company, which dropped me. Okay.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. And here I am in the middle of North Carolina, and I had to drive an hour and a half to go see the doctor.
I
All right.
can't imagine that, Tom.
Yeah, an hour and a half driving to see the doctor. And lo and behold, the guy was from Connecticut. I'll never forget him. A nice Italian guy. Was great, great. We became friends. Straight shooter, the whole bit. But he said, "No, you got problems, brother." All right, what are you talking about? Problems? How do I deal with this? What do you mean? Well, there's a group that you can go and sign up with this group. They're brand new, bladder cancer and blah blah blah. I forget the name of it right now. Forgive me, but I will bring it up to people. And I said, "Wow, I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to get involved with that." The whole, he said, "I'm telling you to get involved with this." So I said to Maria, I said, all right, look, we're going to make the weekend of it. There was this seminar on Saturday. Okay. We left Friday night, got up into Raleigh area. And we stayed over, got up the next day, went to this seminar. Okay. So it was poor me, Michelle. Poor me.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, poor me. I ain't going to make it. Oh, God, look, smell the rose and go through the whole bit. Well, I walked into this seminar and there was 163 other people in there with bladder cancer.
Wow.
Okay. Oh, okay. So that poor me went right out the window. Now it's poor us. Let's talk about it. That's why this right here, I believe, is going to be fantastic for other people to hear because it has to be talked about. The doom and the gloom has to be talked about, but also the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
How you perceive your outcome is going to become. You can give up, fold up tent, and say, "Up to hell with it, keep moving." No, I got too much. Hey, I'm going to be 70 in a couple weeks. Okay, and I ain't quitting. I refuse to sit on the couch. I refuse to be that guy sitting on the couch or telling everybody open the door, get off my lawn. That old guy. I don't want to be that guy. But you got to go through hell before you can get to see the light the right way, and
Yep.
and that's basically where I'm at right now. I mean, I'm seeing I haven't had any bouts with the cancer. Not saying that it's not there or it hasn't shown itself. But I change a lot of different things in my life that and mostly food
Mm-hmm.
and also you know how I eat, what I eat, and stuff like that, and that all plays into it. The more and more they find out about it, what we put up here, we're sugar addicted. Our country is sugar addicted. You stop and look at a normal day of eating and what happens, what you put into your face here. That's why there's type 2 diabetes. That's why there's insulin resistance, heart disease, cancer,
Yep.
and that's the reason why. I just listened to. I'm gonna in next couple lives that we do. I keep wanting to say podcast because we are going to put this on a podcast. We are going to set up a podcast for this so that we can do it. You listen to it too if you don't want to just sit and watch it. But the whole idea is I listened to this one doctor and he's talking about um, getting away from sugars and high carbs. They're even doing studies now with Alzheimer's with it.
Hmm.
So it's a new realm coming around. You know what I mean? Before it was cholesterol. Don't eat this, don't eat that, cholesterol. But they pump this with a lot of sugars and stuff. And I do believe that has a lot to do with our cancers.
Hmm.
I really do. So
Well, you know, the when you say the sugars, when we were coming up, okay, in the 60s and 70s, um, into the early 80s maybe, um, sugar was sugar. Now, high fructose corn syrup is in your green beans and it's in your corn. And high fructose corn syrup is a garbage byproduct that they had to figure out what to do with it, and it does enhance the flavor and it does keep the color of your food when it's prepared or canned or whatever. Go look at every single prepared food and look, high fructose corn syrup. It's in everything. And it's garbage. But that's why I started canning. But I wanted to go back to the doctor comment.
mhm.
Because you like your doctor, and I do too. I love the doctor I have. And I had to go through a bad doctor to get to the good doctor. And that's when Michelle learned to advocate for herself. The doctor I have is not in my ordinary group. And but when I met the first doctor who was in my group, it didn't take me but 30 seconds to know that she would have killed me because she didn't care. I was a number. I was a person and she didn't care. And I didn't care for her and I was out the door. Out the door. But the doctor that I did meet with, I didn't think I was going to have to do any chemotherapy because the surgeon thought that she got everything. There was nothing in my lymph nodes. She took a little not a ton, but just a little extra to make sure. So when I did finally see the doctor that I saw, I started chemo like on the cusp of the optimal time to begin taking the treatment. But he explained it to me in a way, and he didn't know me. He didn't know that I enjoyed gardening at all, and I do, and I did. And he said, imagine in your garden that you have this pristine bed, right? And you've got all these nice little plants, and everything's happy and everything. And then you get one dandelion that turns into, where it gets the little ball of fuzzies.
Wasn't.
And he said, and then a little breeze comes along, and a couple of those little guys come off and they land, but we don't quite know where they landed. So you don't know where the next ones are going to show up, right? Where the next dandelions are going to show up.
Hmm.
So he said, this medicine that you're going to take, and it was oral chemotherapy. He said, this medicine you're going to take is just going to go in and make sure that your ground stays clean. Look at it that way. What a great analogy. And
Sure.
he didn't even know me.
Right.
And so it resonated with me. But when you talk about not understanding everything that they're saying, I did not go to Dr. Google. I didn't want then I know that society can be so negative and it's either, oh, you poor thing, and I don't want that. I don't
No,
want that.
that's the worst.
And it makes me want to cry, and then it
Yeah.
makes me want to punch something. And I'm not a really I'm a lover, not a fighter. But it just gets me upset because it's like, no, 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 no. We're gonna face this. We're gonna make this better. But when I went to my doctor, I took my phone and I said, I have my notebooks with me at first and everything. I'd take notes, I'd ask questions and all this. Well, eh, he said so much, right? And I'm like, oh, hold on, let me stop. I took my phone with me and I said, Doctor, do you mind if I record you when we
Oh,
have our appointments? And he said, no, not at all. So I started recording him. I don't record everyone, but every time I'm on chemo, I definitely record the my meetings with him and my appointments because chemo does really crazy things to your brain. You're not as clear
Oh.
as you want to be. You think you sometimes you think you are, but you're not. And so I would take my phone and I have all these recordings on my phone and I can go back in time and listen. I don't usually. I just come home and digest what he said and then listen to it again. Oh, I missed that part. And my husband even does the same thing. JJ will listen to it with me and he goes to all of my appointments with me
Hmm.
because he's clear of mind. He hasn't used the chemotherapy. So his brain is a lot, more,
Hmm.
I'm gonna call it normal. Okay, this is my new normal, but his brain doesn't have the cloudiness that mine does. So he'll
Right.
hear things and he'll also observe things differently than I do, including body language and stuff like that from the doctor. But if you do have something like this, I highly recommend taking a recording device with you. And everybody, if you have a smartphone, there is a recording app on it. Take it with you. And if you have a doctor that won't let you record what they're saying to you about your own health, you
Move.
go find yourself a new doctor,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
The first doctor I went to, okay, um, I didn't want to jump into this too early, but
Yeah.
I am a type 2 diabetic. And the reason why I'm a type 2 diabetic is because of the therapy treatments that I had to go through back in 2008. Okay. That made me a type 2 diabetic, what it did to my liver. And they told me it was going to do that. Okay. After, we'll get into it later on down the road. And I can't get away from it because it did damage my liver.
Hmm.
Okay. So, but my doctor is the type of guy, he said to me, hey, Tom, we can't do this treatment no more because guess what? You have type 2 diabetes now, and the two of them together is not going to work. So I said, well, hey, you know what? Punch me. Knock my teeth out because guess what? Between the bladder cancer and now you're telling me I have type 2 diabetes. Where am I going? What am I doing?
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I want to know more about this. I need to know this from the beginning. Then they send me to an endocrinologist, okay, to talk about type 2 diabetes and how to deal with it. I don't know nothing about type 2 diabetes, okay? I know some people around in my circle that had it, all right? And you got to, if you get real bad, you got to shoot insulin in yourself. And I'm saying to myself, oh, God, I don't need all this stuff, all right?
Hmm.
Well, the endocrinologist they sent me to started me juicing on a juice regimen with fruits and stuff like that. Almost like to blow the top of
Fruits.
my head off. Get my sugar going up. There again, you got to do the research, but you got to do the research after you watch one thing or you read something. Then you got to go to the next one.
Hmm.
And then you got to go to the next one. Okay? Because you got to see where this research is coming from. All right? It could be stuff that you think it might be the right way, but it's has other hidden agendas that people want to do on it. So the only reason why I say is go do more research on what's going on, so you have the questions to ask your doctor.
Yes.
Okay. Once your doctor sees that you're saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this guy is talking about what his problem is," so now I'm going to elaborate a little bit more. Not don't go and be a Weisenheimer with them or anything like that because you read something and all of a sudden you know more than the doctor. Don't do that either. You know what I mean? That it doesn't make any sense. But educate yourself,
Yep.
and between the two, what you're researching, and ask them questions. Is there any other place that I can go to? Getting back to that seminar that I went to, there was three doctors from the Raleigh area. All right, in the hospitals. One guy was growing organs. So what they were doing they were growing kidneys. Okay, UNC. That's a research. They were also reason why I was there because they were growing bladders.
Hmm.
Stem cell, take your stem cell out. Okay, I would no way in hell I would have been able to afford that.
Hmm.
But to get your mind off of what the problem was, because they told me that, guess what? You need to get your affairs in order, all right? Because we may have to take your bladder. Might have to take your bladder up. And I'm saying, no, type 2 diabetes, okay? Bladder cancer. Now you send me to some whack job that's making me drink juice, okay? But, after I drink it, I get a headache. Talk about brain freeze, okay? Then I stick my finger, it'll be 400 on my blood sugar, which is not good for the cancer. Because guess what's that doing? It's making more tumors.
Hmm.
So going through this whole thing, but they're telling me what we'll have to do is maybe we might have to take part of your colon, okay, take a piece of that and make that into a blood. And I'm like, whoa, 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 what are you talking about? So I started looking for alternative ways of doing things.
Hmm.
And there again, I got to let everybody know we are not doctors,
Nope.
okay?
Nope.
We're not healthcare providers. We're not scientists. Although back in the 70s, I thought I was a scientist. Anyway, but it's something different. Something different.
We're just
But
people who've gone through this journey
yeah,
that actually is a never-ending journey. And
yeah,
I think maybe I don't know where we are on time. I should have probably put a timer on. But I just think that there's see that look at all of the different conversations and all the different things we've talked about
yeah,
today and how how it affects you. And I want to take really deep dives about this stuff because I'm learning a lot from you about the research you did. I didn't do this kind of stuff like you did. I didn't go to any seminars. Um, I felt like I was kind of alone, which is probably one of the reasons
mm,
that I turned to YouTube to share with people because there weren't really a lot of things. And this is just 7 years ago. I'm coming up on 7 years ago from my first surgery. So we just, there's a lot to talk about, Tom. There's a lot
yeah, yeah. There
for
is,
us to share.
and to let everybody know that's out there watching, please leave a comment, okay, and
Hmm.
join in on the chat. If we'll try to answer your questions as much as possible. We're going
Hmm.
to try to keep this to an hour. All right. We're going to try to every week. We're going to try to elaborate a little bit more on it. We're going to become a little bit more focused. We wanted to introduce ourselves to everybody and explain what we're going about. And I knew we were going to do this because I know I can start blabbing and keep on going
Me too.
uh, about what happened because there's so much to talk about. Like Michelle said, there is a ton of stuff that we went through. And then thinking about it, I'm thinking about things that happened back then. Okay, that I don't want nobody else to go through. So it's important. It's an important chat. So I appreciate everybody if they would hit the like and subscribe. Now we're going to put this up on either of our channels. Michelle has Big Valley Living. All
Mhm.
right, great channel. I urge you to check it out. And I am the cook. I'm the keto cook, and it's everything is going to come into play here because we need to get this out there because it's one step into the other step into the other step of our lives. I'm sorry to say it took me this long to find everything out, but you need to do your research and stuff on there.
You need to be a lifelong learner too. You have to be curious and you have to be you again, you need to advocate for yourself and part of advocating is learning, right? And I feel like if we can impart some sort of knowledge to people who feel like, oh my gosh, I remember the first day that I was told, when he said that C word. Um, and then I had to tell my mom. I can't even
Yeah,
talk about that right now because that just makes me want to cry all over,
yeah,
you know?
yeah.
So, or when you had to tell your kids, right? I mean, oh my God. So, I
I'm
mean, there's so much to talk about. There's so much that people internalize when they hear about it. Even if you have a partner, you internalize a lot more than you realize you do, which stresses you out, which makes everything worse.
like I said on my channel, I have a podcast that I do, and we're going to get into it over here too because it's very, very, very important. Um,
Mhm.
how stress, how I, I tried to, My wife listened to me do the podcast, and she came in, opened the door, and she went, "Stop! What are you talking about?" She says, "You're yelling, you're screaming, you sound like you want to kill somebody and stuff." We are both passionate about it, and
Hmm.
there again, early on when I first met Michelle, and we talked, we laughed, great sense of humor, the whole nine yards. But then when I come to find out that Michelle had cancer, I said, "Son of a gun,
Yeah.
son of a gun." All right, I mean, and it's just, and it's not just that it's few and far between. There's way too many people out there that have cancer, and we need to get talking about it, and we need to get something. Maybe, who knows, this might turn into something uh, bigger than us. Let's put it that way. And I'm pretty big.
Me too. I'm working on that too. Yeah, we'll
So,
be talking about food for sure. I mean, because once a foodie, always a foodie,
yep,
but you can redirect that foodiness into really healthy ways
yeah,
to that's another arsenal. I mean, is your food that you put in your body.
yeah,
But I really want to I want to thank everybody who does come in and watch this, or who listens to it later, watches it later, that type of thing. Like Tom said, when you comment, what's your story, or what would you like to know more about? It's going to help us to direct some of our conversations that we have with each other, and help us pull some of the stories or experiences that we had that we may have forgotten about, because you can suppress a lot of
sure,
negative things. I'm always like, oh yeah, I'm going to keep a diary every time I start chemo. I hate to say every time I start chemo. That sounds pathetic,
yeah,
but
exactly.
it's true, right? You started, and then it lasts for a few days, maybe a few weeks, and I'm like, oh God, it's another thing I got to do, and you don't. And so I have four partial diaries.
And we also want to get into about our caregivers.
Yes,
I
yes.
mean, it's been oh, poor me, poor me, poor me.
Mm,
Poor Marie, my wife, what she had to go through with me, the unknown. You know
mhm.
what I mean, and I have some stories that, and Michelle, I hope you don't mind, but I want to keep this a little light,
Yeah.
also because the doom and gloom. I don't want that people to go away with their wrong impression. I mean, I
I
always
want the
say,
whole thing to be like Tom. I
yeah,
want everybody. You need to pull from that inner happiness, and
yeah,
because that is what's going to get you through everything. Allow yourself to be sad. Allow yourself to put on I like music. I'll put on a song that'll make me weep and weep and weep, and I'll play it over and over and over until I get
hmm,
it out of my system, or I'll watch a movie that makes me cry. I get it out of my system, and then I move on. But
yeah.
you've got to keep you have to look forward to tomorrow, and believe me, tomorrow is always better. Always, when you're in your deepest.
Need to talk about it. I mean, it needs
Yeah.
to get out. I mean, getting my treatment when I had my treatment. So each treatment I had was 6 weeks long. So that was one treatment. Okay. So it was for 6 weeks and a whole bit. So I did like four or five, about five of them. Okay. 6 weeks. So, on my anniversary, I would get my wife flowers. Okay. And on my anniversary, when I first started my treatment, I got the woman who did my treatment. Okay. I got her flowers too, because I felt we were very intimate. you know, I mean, to laugh about it, to make a joke about it, but that's how I got through it. I mean, with a little, laugh a little bit about it, because anything else, I think I would have went off the deep end, honestly,
Mhm. Oh,
because
I'm the queen of poop jokes. Because you gotta laugh about it. You do,
yeah,
right?
and to get that serious, I mean, it is serious. It is very serious. It is,
Extremely.
yeah, and the thing that we talked about earlier, and we're coming up on our. We're gonna try to keep this 1 hour. We are going to try to also bring some other people up. I have one person that I've been talking to when we did this brainchild here, who's like a motivator type of thing, and as stress does a lot for stress. So I'm in talking with her right now and seeing if she would come up. Also, I reached out to a couple doctors and see, also a doctor's assistant who was, really involved with the patient.
Hmm.
So they haven't gotten back to me yet. So we'll see what happens. But you got to do it. You got to reach out for them.
I wish I could
Um,
talk my doctor into coming on. Everybody would be banging on his door though, because he's that awesome. And I really I think it's important that we do bring guests on. If you're I want to talk to people who've had different kinds of cancers every now and again, right? Because every cancer has a different treatment, and yet we all still have some of the same side effects. And we have, surgery is surgery, regardless of where it is on your body. But because it's invasive, right? And it's designed to help you. But I don't know what it would be like to have breast cancer, and I have a couple friends who've gone through it, and I can't imagine the treatments that they've gone through. I can't imagine the treatments that you've gone through at all.
I have a YouTube friend. Okay, he's very supportive of me, and I just found out that he has one lung because of lung cancer.
Really?
One, yeah, from lung cancer.
That
You know,
blows me away that somebody would only have one lung. I can't even begin
yeah,
to imagine.
yeah. I mean, and just there again, that's how me and you.
Yeah.
Okay, I had no clue whatsoever. And
Mhm.
when I mentioned on one of my lives or something, you had sent me an email.
I did. I did. I was like, I went onto your channel and because I used to listen to you guys when I was editing food videos.
Hmm.
I would listen to you and your buddies on Friday nights. And it felt like I was listening to my uncles and my cousins and my dad. And so I just used to love it. And then one night it just kind of bounced out for a minute and it just came out and then went away, and nobody focused on it or anything, and like my ears perked right up and I stopped what I was doing, yeah, and I sent that email to you. And because people just don't talk about it.
Yeah. And you know what, Michelle? What bothers me more than anything, and I just saying we're not going to bitch and moan about
Mm-mm,
this kind of stuff, but
mm-mm.
what really bothers me to no end is that there's more and more and more and more people with cancers
Yep.
coming up with cancer. I'm younger people, a lot
Hmm.
more younger people now. All right, like I said before, even younger children are coming up with a guy my age that would have cirrhosis of the liver, okay, which is fatty liver,
Hmm.
and you have these young kids that are coming up with fatty liver. I don't understand. I don't get the mentality of it, and how doctors are backing away from uh, all this stuff that's going on with this. I just don't understand it.
Look at
Um,
all the obese children and all the kids who there's I've seen some legislation that's coming down about, banning certain foods in schools because of dyes that are in them that have been linked to certain
Yellow and
cancers
red.
and
Yeah.
ADHD and all that. And it made me think. I just saw a story about this earlier today, and it made me think about something. When we were in school, well, first of all, there weren't fun-sized bags of Doritos, okay? If your mom and dad bought some chips, and you got lucky, you might take a little handful, and put them in a wrapped up piece of plastic and take them in your lunch, and it literally was just a small handful.
Hmm.
Um, but there weren't machines in our schools, and the machines did not dispense soda, high fructose corn syrup laden juices, snacks like, chips and all that kind of stuff. There wasn't
You're
any
right.
of that. It wasn't even a part of our world, School food, the breakfasts were eggs and maybe sausage or something. I mean, it was super basic.
Yeah.
Oatmeal, that type of thing. And so it just the whole world is just so
As
different
you
now.
as you as you can tell, okay, that I do watch a lot of food stuff. Okay,
Mhm.
I spent most of my adult life in restaurants cooking. So I followed a couple of these old Italian guys that going around in Italy eating different ways. And one guy's very emotional. The other guy has passed since. But they did, since you brought this up, they brought a segment up about schools in
Mhm.
Italy. Okay, well you have tomatoes, lemon, all great ingredients, all great foods.
Mhm.
Okay, in Italy they've done away with school lunches, and
So they all have to take lunch?
they have vending machines in the schools, and the guy said we have become Americanized.
Oh, no. That's the worst thing that can happen.
I was like,
Oh.
I was like this looking at it. I mean, if anybody who doesn't have type 2 diabetes, or I mean, it's rare that anybody doesn't, or
Mhm.
some type of cancer, all right, to get away and eat that junk, okay,
Mhm.
you will be contacting me. You will be looking to lose weight, or you will be looking to fight diabetes, type 2
Yep.
diabetes, because that's on the horizon, and
And
it's
we don't
getting
want that.
no, it's getting younger and younger and younger. I feel bad for my grandsons. I really do.
Mhm.
I mean, it's just horrible. So,
Mhm.
well, let's wrap this up, there, my friend. I think it went pretty well. I think I rambled a little bit too much.
No.
Uh,
I could listen to you talk forever and ever.
I think
Seriously.
this is going to be good. I think we're going to continue now. Next week, what I like, well, between the two of us is,
Mhm.
I'd like to get into a little bit how it mentally worked with us, as far as because we're going to go back into early times and when we were first diagnosed with it and how that processed
Mhm.
with thing. I think that would be another way. And at what point did we say, hey, this is we I need to get to work because this is too serious
Yeah. How
with
many
it.
times do you got to go through chemo before you finally get hit on the head over the head enough, right? Where you say, okay, this is enough for me,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's
Well,
true.
and the problem is when you go back, when you go to the oncologist and you turn around, you start knowing everybody. Hey, Mary, how you doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Or when you go in for your checkups. Before we go, every time I go in for a checkup, I turn into an absolute just basket case, right? And it's been a couple years here since I've been in remission, although it took me a year in remission to know I was in remission.
yeah,
But every time I get my blood work done, I like hover over my phone to get the results because I understand the results better now. But if the results are different than the results have been, I get really, really skittish and I just start to spin. And you have to learn how to rein yourself back in again. And I'd like us to talk about that and talk about tools that we use, right?
hmm
Everybody's different, but tools that have been effective for us too, to just kind of talk yourself off the ledge because it's
exactly.
very, very important to know how to
Yeah,
do that.
yeah.
But
Well,
I
so
really am so glad we're doing this together. I am.
I enjoy your company, and I believe that we're going to get more people to come into this, because you know what, it is a problem. It really is a problem,
Yeah.
and I think from a couple of veterans that went through it, if you're younger and dealing with this and stuff, it needs to be talked about. It needs to be taken down a couple steps, like you just said, come off the ledge a
Mhm.
little bit and sort of deal with it, because there is help. There is ways
Mhm.
to get yourself squared away with it again.
Mhm.
It's still serious. Don't get me wrong. There is still things you have to worry about, but there is easier waters ahead. Let's put it that way.
I agree. I agree. You will get through it. You will get through it. So if you are one of the folks who just found out, hang out with us. We'll help you get through it.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for inviting me to
Mhm.
join you in this collaboration. I really do, and I'm calling it a collaboration because that's what it is. Me and you are gonna work this together. So,
Yep. Yep.
um, like, ladies first. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Again, I appreciate it. And you, everybody, I can't wait to see you in future installments. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Definitely share these things with people that you know that might be going through it if you aren't the one going through it, because it helps to know that you're not alone when you are going through it.
Okay. Well, with that said, we're gonna head out.
Okay, off we go. See you next time. Thanks again for visiting. See you later, everybody. Be kind.